Wow, it feels like such a long time since I filmed a talking video, even though it probably has not been much time at all. It just feels like a long time. But anyway, here we are. Today I thought we would discuss something that's been on my mind a lot recently, and it's been coming up in conversations a lot, so I thought, let's just talk about it. Now, I haven't written down any points about what I'm specifically going to talk about, but the whole general topic is the downsides of weight loss, which sounds very negative because there is definitely a lot of positives that have come from my weight loss journey. However, there are some negatives that I feel like aren't spoken about, but everybody struggles with. And I still to this day, even though it has been probably between 5-7 years, something like that, since I lost weight, I still struggle with these things. And they have come directly from weight loss. So I thought it would just be a good opportunity to discuss it and talk about some things. I also feel like this camera is very high up. 1 second, way too low. I'm loving this jumper, by the way. I found it in a thrift store. I think I've got food on it, by the way, so. But I found it in a thrift store and it is just so comfy. It also reminds me, slightly triggering, of my old school PE uniform, which I remember when I realized, I was like, oh yeah, that brings back bad memories of the Airtex jumper that I had to wear for sports in school, but I feel like it's like exposure therapy wearing it, so I'm kind of getting over it. And the other thing I've been doing recently is wearing, can't see them, but wearing shorts everywhere. It's been pretty warm in the UK, and I just sort of thought, you know what, I'm gonna start wearing shorts everywhere because I've spoken about this on my Instagram mainly, but I just don't love my legs. They're probably the thing on my body that I'm most self-conscious about because one is bigger than the other in terms of width. One has a massive birthmark down it, which probably not obvious to most people, but obvious to me at least. And I have veins and cellulite and all sorts of stuff, which makes me really self-conscious of my legs. So I tend to not really wear shorts. And again, as a bit of exposure therapy, I've started wearing shorts. Sorry, Hugo is scratching at the door. Can I help? Are you coming in? Are you in or are you out? If that is not the most typical cat behavior, I don't know what is. Anyway, it's time for me to stop rambling and talking about clothing and animals and actually get into the video. So I'm gonna get stuck in with the main one, the one that really affects me and probably has been the biggest struggle in terms of weight loss that I've experienced and that I see other people experience all the time. And that is the mental side of weight loss, like the psychological stuff that you have to go through, the changes that you have to accept and embrace, and really the mental health aspect of weight loss. Because the physical part, honestly, is relatively easy in comparison. Once you know what you're doing in terms of you get a bit of a routine going, you find what works for you, you're able to manage your nutrition well, and also you find some form of a movement or exercise that works really well for you, that stuff's pretty easy to maintain. It's not that bad. You just have to basically check the boxes. It's pretty black and white, to be honest with you. And yeah, it fluctuates, but it's not so hard to overcome or deal with. However, the mental challenges that come with weight loss are just significant. And I feel like the deeper you go into a weight loss journey or the longer you go into it, the harder those things become. And like I say, I lost weight, what am I now? I'm 32. I think I lost weight around 25, 26. So it was about 5-6 years ago that I lost weight. And I still struggle with these things significantly every single day. So when you're actually going through weight loss, obviously you have the mental aspect of beating yourself up. The self-doubt is a huge one. You know, the days that you're not seeing progress, or you wake up and you just feel like, why am I wasting my time? Those things are totally normal. I see them time and time again, and I definitely experience them myself. And they are challenging. And in those circumstances, my advice is always to track your progress in many different ways, because progress comes in so many different forms. So tracking your progress in many different ways means that you can shut down the irrational side of your brain by looking at the rational evidence that you have, aka I'm healthier, I'm fitter, I am sleeping better, I can see through these photos that my body has changed, or my body composition, or my posture has changed. All these little things make a big difference. And if you have that tangible evidence or that data there, you can somehow try to shut down the irrational side of your brain, which is really pesky and sometimes tries to creep up on you and tell you that you're not doing a good job or that it's not working. Another thing to do is to avoid the triggers, because often there's something that's triggering this feeling. So it could be that you did a weigh-in that day, or that you tried on some old clothes that you were hoping would fit. And trying to avoid those triggers as much as possible on those specific occasions is a good way to help minimize them, or at least not feel like you dwell on it. Because what we don't want is to dwell on it and then basically just give it all up because you think it's not working, because often it's just us being our own harshest critics, and it definitely is working. We just need to keep going with what we're doing. So those are some things that are really useful. But also, if you have a coach, or if you have a really close friend or family member that you feel like you can trust and rely on, then having them to basically give you a bit of a talking to and remind you that you are doing well and you need to remain consistent. So those are things that I would recommend in those circumstances. And that is very much something that's related to as you are going through your weight loss journey, like throughout the times where you're actually actively trying to lose weight. Another huge thing that I think I wouldn't say I learned the hard way, but it definitely was a realization for me was, and I've spoken about this in another video, which I will pop down below because I think I explained it quite well in that video, but the realization that weight loss I thought was going to be the answer to all my problems, because I wasn't happy with my weight, I wasn't happy with looking in the mirror and all those things, and I lost weight and I realized that I still wasn't happy with those things, and it changed absolutely nothing. And there are definitely things that have come from weight loss that have increased my happiness, my contentness with life, that I'm super grateful for, but they weren't directly related to the weight loss. For example, as a very brief overview, I lost weight thinking it would make me happy, that I would be more confident with my body, that all the things that I was self-conscious about would disappear, and they were just there. If not anything, they were heightened. However, losing weight meant after a few years, I got into calisthenics and I met loads of friends through calisthenics. I changed my career, and all of those things bring me so much happiness and confidence. I'm not saying I'm the most confident person in the world, but they have definitely helped in that area, and that has brought me happiness. And I doubt that would have happened had I not gone through the weight loss. So I think the realization that when I got to, I guess, where I was going to maintain at, or some point where I was pretty happy, I realized that it didn't make me happy. And also that when you do get to that goal that we're really working for, there's no one there like popping champagne and congratulating you over the finish line. It's just another day in your life, and the goalpost will just move. Now you've got to move on to your next goal. Like, what do I want to be working on now? It's almost a bit of a feeling of like melancholy, kind of just a bit like, I feel like it comes across really, really negative, me saying that. It's not to say that losing weight isn't worthwhile, because if it's something that you want to do for your health and for you personally, I would 100% recommend it. I'll be with you, holding your hand all the way. But if you enter it thinking that it's going to solve problems, then just be aware that you have to put the mental work in to overcome those things. Because, for example, if you have a bad relationship with food at the moment, losing weight will not fix that. If anything, it might make it worse. If you have a bad relationship with your body, losing weight isn't miraculously going to make that better either. So those things require work, and I think that's something that I overlooked or didn't really know at the time. And so it was just a factor of losing weight, making progress, feeling really good, this is fantastic, get to a point where it's maintenance and it's a bit of a dead end, and you kind of think, okay, why do I still feel these feelings towards my body or towards myself? I thought these would go away by now, and actually, if anything, they start to ramp up even more, and you go, oh, I have to do all this mental work as well, and that can often take longer than any physical changes. Then the last one, and this is the one that probably still affects me the most now, and I've really try hard to get my head around this, but it affects me so much. I've been talking about this on Instagram recently because I've been getting quite a few questions about it, and that is getting your head around this different version of yourself. This is something that I just can't get to grips with, is my perception of me versus other people's perceptions of me. And initially this wasn't so bad. I didn't really experience it that much. However, the more time that's gone on and the further back in time my weight loss journey is, I feel like these feelings and these thoughts have been elevated, because nearly everyone I know in my life now knows me as this version of me, which is somebody who is, I guess, to their eyes, into fitness, who's sporty, who is an active person, who enjoys health and fitness and exercising, who is in this body, and that is a totally different person than I have been my entire life. So from the ages of being able to remember when I was a young kid, I was overweight, and throughout my teenage years I was overweight all the way up until 25, 26. And I still feel like that person. I still feel like the person that was petrified of PE. I still feel like the person that was never sporty and not good at anything that's related to exercise, nor really that motivated to do it because it scared me. I just still identify more so as that person subconsciously than this person that people perceive me as now. And I am this person now. I do love health and fitness. I love being active. I love being outdoors and adventuring. But it's like this tug of war in my brain between what I think I am and what I know I am. It's really bizarre. And of course we can accept that people change and our preferences change, and all these different things are going to be fluctuating throughout our lives. But it's very hard to mentally embrace change and then also understand or not feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Overwhelmed, I guess, or like you have to live up to the expectations of being somebody that you think you're not. It's a really hard thing to explain, which is why I'm trying to always get my head around this. Again, this is not to say in any way that my life is not what I intend it to be and that I am not who I think or say I am, because I am. It's just that I worry that people in my life now, and I'm talking about friends, even Josh, my partner, they don't know me as this other person that I feel like I was my entire life. So it's just so hard to get my head around the fact that it's changed. I hope I'm making some sense to somebody here, but there really is just this disparity between what I view myself as and what I feel other people perceive me as. Because sometimes people will come up to me and say something randomly, like a stranger in the gym or a stranger on the street, and I always feel like, who, me? They're talking about, you're talking about me? No. Like, for example, someone might come up and say, wow, are you a gymnast? And I'm like, oh God, no. Like, I'm so far from a gymnast. You know, I trip over my own feet, and it just seems so weird to me that somebody would even consider that the case. That is definitely something that has come from weight loss. Obviously, if I'd not lost weight, then that would not have happened. And really, that's just one part of it. It's very, very multifactorial. I sat down and had a conversation with my mum yesterday about this, because I see people struggle with this all the time, and I was trying to talk it through. And there was just so many different tangents that conversation was going off in. And obviously I want to keep this video fairly succinct, but that's just one aspect of it. And I wanted to kind of use it to highlight that there is so much mental work that goes into weight loss, and it's not a simple black and white, just lose weight and everything will be okay. There's definitely lots of layers to weight loss, to your identity, to your future, to maintenance, and to all these different things that I think are often overlooked or not spoken about, which is why I kind of wanted to open the conversation about it. Because like I say, it's definitely something that affects me regularly. And I mean, look at me, I say this all the time, I cannot dress myself. It has been 5 or 6 years and I consistently go out and buy clothes that are probably about 3 sizes too big for myself, because I don't know how to dress myself. I just don't know. So when I'm working with clients, that's a big thing for me, is talking about the mental aspect of it as well and helping them through that, because it's not as simple as just losing weight. It never really is as simple as just losing weight. So although this video is talking about the negatives of weight loss or the downsides of weight loss, these things aren't negatives. It's just something to be aware of that needs work, and probably needs more work than the physical part of it. That being said, my second point in regards to, I guess, the downsides of weight loss, and this is something that I hear again and again and again, is that people in your life will treat you differently, or potentially your relationships and friendships might change or be impacted by weight loss. And in the short term, or initially, this usually comes from people not loving change. Maybe sometimes it highlights some things that they're lacking, or they can be jealous of someone's motivation or their ability to be proactive with their health. And so they become negative or critical of what someone might be doing. Often this comes in the form of saying, I guess, snarky little comments, or even to the extent of saying that someone's becoming obsessed with exercise or calories. I guess it's just trying to pee on someone's parade a little bit and be a little bit negative, and it can be really easy to let these things affect you. I always say in these circumstances, the best thing to do is just distance yourself from people like that. They do always say, and this is 100% true, that the people who are around you and closest to you are going to have the biggest impact, whether that be positive and negative. So if you can, try to surround yourself with positive people, people that support your journey, people that are going to have a good impact on you versus people that are going to be critical, negative, or maybe try to hold you back or make you doubt yourself. That being said, we can't always choose exactly who's in our lives and closest to us. You know, we're not going to necessarily cut family out because they don't agree with what we're doing, or maybe they don't understand it. And in that circumstance, education is key. If you sit someone down, explain to them what you're doing and why you're doing it and why it's going to work. Often what we find is if someone has an understanding of something, it becomes a lot easier for them to accept. And this is the same not only for ourselves, but also for others around us. So if you do sit them down, have a conversation with them, tell them exactly what's going on, they'll have a better understanding of what your goals are, what your vision is, and hopefully become more supportive in that regard. In the longer term, you might just find that some of your relationships are going to fizzle out. Undoubtedly, you're going to find new passions. You're going to find that as you embrace the changes within yourself, that your interests are going to change. My life has changed so much over the last 6 or 7 years. It didn't happen immediately. You know, there's been drips and changes, and there's been little forks in the road, and lots of things have happened. And my friendship groups have changed just naturally because of those fluctuations. And so accepting that, you know, you are going to change. Sometimes it means that you're not going to be friends with people anymore. Sometimes it means that you are just going to be a bit more distant. And sometimes you're going to make new friends. Although it might feel negative thinking that you might lose some friends or family, it feels quite a dramatic thing to say. It's not quite like that. This naturally happens throughout life as well. And you're going to be making plenty of new friends and acquaintances in the future throughout your entire life as well. So there's that to look forward to. I suppose it's just knowing that this may happen. And if you do experience any negativity towards you in the first place, when you start something new, try to understand that it's not an attack against you per se. It's more a reflection of how they feel about themselves. I know you've probably heard this a million times, but it really genuinely is. And try to approach it with a neutral view and a bit of understanding and empathy for the situation. However, that being said, if you get nasty comments or negativity, it is good to be aware that you can distance yourself from that. I often get asked, did I experience it? Firstly, did I experience it from any friends or family? And secondly, did I get treated differently by strangers? Now, in terms of strangers, I wouldn't say that I noticed it significantly that I got treated by strangers any differently. However, maybe that is the case. If I look at the macro scale, like over a period of years, do I get treated differently over the last 5 years than I did the previous 5 years? I don't know, it's really hard to say because I feel like I've changed a little bit as a person. I'm a lot older now. I do a different job, so it's hard to say. But potentially, yes, maybe in society I'm treated a little bit differently. I don't feel like in any personal interactions I've had, they've been much different. If I'm out in public and I have an interaction with a stranger for some reason, I feel like I act exactly the same way as I would when I was 21. So it's just not really changed in my mind, but maybe their perception of me has changed. However, within my close circle, I did have some comments which were hurtful. I did it alone, and that was a choice. I didn't really talk to anyone about it. I lived in Australia. None of my family or my friends that I had grown up with lived in that country. This was before social media really was a big thing, so it wasn't on there. I didn't even tell anyone I worked with what I was doing, and no one really noticed. And my personality is very much like this, that I don't often share what I'm working on, just because if I fail, then I feel like I failed, I've got all the responsibility for that, and I don't look like an idiot. And if I succeed, then I don't feel like anyone's gonna be there like congratulating me because I don't like the attention. So I just kind of keep things to myself. And I did that with my weight loss. I just came home, I did my thing, I changed what I ate, I just kept doing that over and over and over again. And there was one instance where I had lost all the weight. So I had lost 4.5 stone, like 30 kilos. Obviously there was a distinct difference in how I looked, and this person was very close to me. And they didn't say anything. They knew I'd been losing weight, but they just didn't mention it at all. And as a conversation went on, my partner at the time, who was with me, he said, "Oh, aren't you like surprised the way Lucy looks? Doesn't she look different?" And the only thing they said was, "Don't lose any more weight or you'll be too skinny." And that was it. I suppose it was hurtful that they focused on that and not the bigger picture. I don't know, it was just a bit of a slap in the face. So that was probably the only thing that I remember. I mean, I'm sure there was other things, but that one really stands out to me. And I think with those things, from my personality perspective, I just let those things slide. I just bite my tongue, I don't say anything, and I just take a step back. But I suppose that almost keeps me in that cocoon of like wanting to keep things down secret and not really talk about stuff as much. I think I am better at that now, that I do share a lot more, especially since doing YouTube. Like at first, I would never talk about projects I was working on. I would never talk about like my coaching, for example, and I don't do it very often. You guys know that. A lot of people who watch my videos or who follow me on Instagram don't have any idea that I'm a personal trainer and that I have like different aspects to my business, because I don't talk about them very often. But I am getting better. I am getting better, and I often see doing it as a chance for self-development, because I'm like, okay, it's going to challenge me to talk about this aspect of my business or to promote something that I've been working on. And so I see it as a bit of a challenge. So that is relationships, family, and friends. Another thing that I think is often not spoken about is at some point you need to stop losing weight and you need to go to maintenance. And learning how to go into maintenance is kind of like losing weight again. It's creating a routine, finding what works for you, and basically changing your perspective on what you're trying to achieve or the goals that you're trying to work on. So that's one aspect of it. But I think the other angle is the fact that maintenance is not always what we expect. I feel like, again, we just think black and white because we don't think so much in depth about it. It's like, when I lose weight, I'll get to this goal weight or wherever I want to get to, and I'll just stay there. But it's not. Like, I've mentioned this in many videos, fluctuations happen, and maintenance for me has looked like swings of up to 10 kilos weight gain and probably 3 or 4 kilos weight loss from the weight that I initially got to. My body has changed so much, literally every month since that happened, and it's been years now. My exercise, my preferences, what I've been enjoying doing has changed loads due to motivation, injuries, being away and traveling. It might be I'm busy with work, it just might be the weather, like all these things have an impact. Last year, I went through a phase where I was injured at the beginning of the year. Probably for a good 4 months, I wasn't really able to train, so that impacted my motivation, that impacted my body, that impacted how much I was eating. And then I got back into exercising, my appetite increased, I started eating more, I started training a lot more. Then Josh got sick and he was in hospital, started to lose weight because I wasn't prioritizing my own food, I was looking after him a lot, and so on and so forth. It fluctuates. So I think it's important to remember that maintenance means up and down. It means fluctuations. You're not just going to become a weight or a size or a fitness level and you're just going to stay there forever, because life is going to happen and we wouldn't want it any other way. So it's just important to remember it. Oh, look who's come to join. Talking about a weight loss journey. Little Hughes is on a weight loss journey, aren't you? Yeah, the vet said you were a little bit too chunky. Just a little bit. So he's on a little diet at the moment. Yeah, he's not happy about it, as you can tell. Anyway, we're nearly at the end of the video, so you can stay for a little bit longer. So the last thing I want to talk about, and this is a super lighthearted one, but it definitely impacts me nearly every day, and that is that I am always cold. Literally always cold. I believe this is down to a change in your metabolism, and obviously I don't have as much body fat, which is going to insulate me and keep me warm, but I am literally always cold. In the height of summer, I sleep with a hot water bottle. I remember in Melbourne when I worked at the hospital, I used to work at the ophthalmology clinic, which was off-site, and I used to have to actually take a whole trolley of the physical medical records for all the patients for that clinic. And there was one specific day I was wheeling this trolley back through the streets of Melbourne. It was 40 degrees, I had trainers and pants on and just a short sleeve t-shirt. And I was so cold I couldn't feel my feet. Like they were blue. I'm starting to think I might actually have Reynolds syndrome, because my extremities are always really cold and often blue. But anyway, that's another story. I am always cold. This is also a very common side effect of weight loss. So there's that. To end this video on a more positive note, there are so many positives that have come from my personal weight loss journey, and I would not change it for the world. Yes, there are things that I'm still working on, and yes, there were things that were challenges, but there are immeasurably more things that are positive that have come from it. The main one being that I live in a much healthier and more functional body. I have found a passion for movement, and I've been able to create a career out of that. And for me, the highlight of literally every day is getting a message from someone saying that they either feel better about themselves regardless of their situation or their goals because of something that I've created, or that they've bought themselves a pull-up bar and they're learning how to do pull-ups, or that they've done their first handstand, or that they feel motivated to do something that they want to achieve. In some weird meandering way, I don't think those things would have happened if I hadn't lost weight. And personally, I feel much more energetic. I have a lifestyle which I absolutely love. I love getting out into the mountains. It has been so rubbish for the last couple of months with a bad back, not being able to hike. I miss it so much. Being able to go bouldering, to being able to go out on my roller skates, to go skateboarding, to do all these things that I never did before because I didn't have the confidence to do it, and I didn't move very well either. The friends that I have made and just living in a healthier body has made it all worthwhile. I feel good that we're ending on a more positive note because I don't want this to be off-putting in any way, but I think it's so important that we talk about these things as well. So if you have any questions at all, please do drop them down below, or if you want, you can send me an email or a message on Instagram anonymously and we can chat on there. And oh, and he's back. I hope this video has helped someone in some way. That is all I want from my videos. You're not on camera. I hope this video has helped someone in some way. That is all I ever want from every video that I put up. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a beautiful day.